Good morning. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Lee County Board of County Commissioners for February 21st, 2023. It is 9:31 a.m. This morning, let's begin with our invocation by Pastor Eric Smith from Hope City Church. Pastor, if you join us at the podium this morning, thank you. And everyone, please rise.
Let's pray together. Father, we come to you this morning and we thank you just for how you've blessed us and this opportunity to come together and to do the business of the people of Lee County. And Lord, we just pray a special blessing over this county. I pray for each of these leaders and their families that, Lord, you just be with them, bless them, guide them, give them wisdom. And Lord, we just continue to pray for the recovery effort here in our area, for the families that have suffered and experienced loss. We just pray, Lord, for your supernatural touch to be with them and for you to bring provision and guidance into their lives. And Lord, we just pray you bless this meeting today, and we thank you. It's in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pastor, thank you for joining us this morning. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. You may be seated. And we'll begin this morning with 3 ceremonial presentations that are very exciting. The first one this morning, I'd like to actually recognize, I believe it's Commissioner Pendergrass. Yeah, Commissioner Pendergrass for Engineers Week. Commissioner Pendergrass.
Thank you, Chairman. If I could have anyone here for the Engineers Week, I think Wes may be here. Vinny, who else is here? Thank you for coming up this week. Now more than ever after the storm, we know how important you guys are. So thank you for everything you do. I'd like to read the resolution in the record. The resolution reads as, whereas engineers help design, construct, and maintain the infrastructure and facilities that contribute to the quality of life of all the residents of Lee County. And whereas maintaining the quality of life of Lee County during periods of substantial growth, uncertain economic times, depends on engineers developing initiative, creative, and high-quality solutions for technical problems. And whereas engineers of LLs practice in their own profession hold paramount to the safety, health, and welfare of the public. And whereas the celebration of Engineers Week each year, the Florida Engineering Society and its Colusa chapter are dedicated to sustaining and growing a dynamic engineering professionals by ensuring a diverse, well-educated future engineering workforce and raising public understanding and appreciation of engineers' contribution to society. And whereas now the Board of County Commissioners wish to recognize and honor these individuals who live, work in Lee County, who practice professional engineering in the honorable, responsible, ethical, competent manner, and recognize the honor these students have chosen to educate to follow a career path. Now, therefore, be resolved, the Board of County Commissioners, Lee County, Florida, proclaim the week of February 19th through February 25th, 2023 as Engineers Week in Lee County. Duly executed by Chairman Brian Hammond. Let's go build some bridges. Thank you, guys. Let's get a picture, and one of you like to speak at the podium for a second. Thank you.
Morning.
Morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to address the board? Go right ahead. Thank
Yes,
you.
please. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jeff Wasco, and I work for Brock & Associates, a local civil engineering, land surveying, and planning firm. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Florida Gulf Coast University. Go Eagles. And today I'm here representing the Florida Engineering Society, Colusa chapter, as the president. Our chapter includes Lee County, Collier County, and 3 other Southwest Florida counties with over 200 members. We host a middle school math competition each year for over 120 students, and we send the top teams and performers on to state. We have several teams from Lee County who participate each year. We also provide scholarships each year to high academic achievers looking to pursue a degree in engineering. I'd like to thank the board for this proclamation. The stereotypical engineer is quiet and reserved. We are a profession typically taken for granted or referred to when something fails. However, Engineers Week, February 19th through 25th, is a time of year where we try to raise awareness about our quiet contributions to society. There are several engineering disciplines: civil, environmental, biomedical, computer, software, industrial, mechanical, geotechnical, nuclear, just to name a few. All aspects of our daily lives are impacted by the work of engineers, from the alarm that wakes us to the water we drink, and to the roads we drive on, and to the buildings we work in, and even the seats that we sit in. There's one thing that all engineers have in common, is that they use math and science to solve real-world problems. A core value of engineers is that they shall hold paramount the health, safety, and welfare of the public. No matter who we are working for, the public is our ultimate client. And thanks again, and we are honored to receive this proclamation.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. County Manager. All right, at this time, I would like to call from the Minnesota Twins, Dave St. Peter and Mark Weber to the podium, and from the Boston Red Sox, Sean Smith and Brennan Whitley. It is that awesome time of year where we get to renew our century-old tradition of spring training here in Lee County, and it's my privilege this morning to recognize both of our amazing spring training ball clubs, the Minnesota Twins and the Boston Red Sox, with a proclamation on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners. So I'll begin. Whereas Lee County welcomes the Minnesota Twins and their fans back for their 33rd spring training season at the Lee County Sports Complex and Hammond Stadium, and Lee County welcomes the Boston Red Sox and their fans back to their 31st spring training season in Lee County in the 12th at JetBlue Park. Whereas Lee County is incredibly proud of the partnership with both teams, and with winter raging on in both Minneapolis and Boston, we welcome their fans to come and enjoy our warm destination and to help our community continue to thrive in our recovery efforts post-Hurricane Ian. Whereas the Red Sox and Twins are exemplary community partners, immediately taking action in the wake of the storm. Examples include supporting the county's use of the spring training facilities for recovery efforts and showing support through volunteer hours and funding. The teams late last year announced a joint donation in support of the Southwest Florida Hurricane Ian relief efforts, with the clubs pledging a combined $200,000 to 5 Lee County nonprofits. And whereas the 2023 spring training season will mark a joyous moment of normalcy as Lee County's path to recovery continues, with Lee County again being a special part of Twins territory and also a second home to Sox fans. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida, along with Lee County Parks and Recreation Department, Visitor and Convention Bureau, Sports Development Office, and Facilities Construction and Management Department, do hereby proclaim its full support for both the Boston Red Sox and Minnesota Twins organizations, and we send our most sincere best wishes for success in the upcoming 2023 baseball season. It's signed this 21st day of February by me, the chairman of the board. Congratulations. Come take a picture with us, folks.
Thank you. Thanks. See you again. Very much. Appreciate it. You're just hanging in my office.
Sean, good morning. Good to see you. And I will present this to one of you. Maybe, Sean, you guys can hold that right in the middle there. Perfect. All right. We'll just take our picture. Thank you. And Dave and Sean, I'd like to give you each a chance. Okay.
On behalf of the Minnesota Twins, we're deeply indebted to Lee County and all that you do, not only for us, but for the community. We just want to be a good partner, and we appreciate not only everything that you've done for us, but hopefully that we can be part of the recovery for spring training and bringing people back to this area. We look forward to a great spring, and thank you again for all you do.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for this wonderful honor and the opportunity to speak. And I echo a lot of what our colleagues with the Twins just said, what Mark had said, and Dave's representation here. And to just say thank you, not only for your support, but also for your persistence in rebuilding our community. As a new member of the community, I couldn't be more proud to be here and work along with our partners. Jesse Lavender, certainly, as you guys know, Josh Brooks, who helps take care of the ballpark. They are phenomenal people to work with and phenomenal crew. And we announced yesterday, and I've been working with Brian, the chairman, on this, just a little program from not only the Red Sox, but our partners at Aramark, and also the 5 commissioners, where we've donated 250 tickets to the Lee County Foundation for Public Schools to be able to get out into the community so people can, as we just commented a couple minutes ago, about having a sense of normalcy and bringing people back, even for a couple hours, to enjoy some time together, not only enjoy baseball, but enjoy coming back together as a community. So thank you very much, and thank you to Brennan and our staff who do an incredible job and make us all look so good. Thank you.
And again, thank you and congratulations and good luck to both clubs. All right, at this time, we will move on to the fourth quarter length of service awards, and I'd like to recognize our county manager's office to present the awards. And commissioners, I'd like to invite you to go down front so that we can shake the hands of our length of service award winners.
Good morning. Victoria Abus with Lee County Human Resources. I'm joined today by my colleague from Human Resources, Kristen Bristol, and County Manager Desjardins. We have the privilege this morning of presenting the Length of Service Awards to all eligible employees for quarter 4 of 2022. These awards collectively represent 770 years of service to Lee County government. For the employees that are present this morning, as I call out your name, please come to the front to receive your award from the county manager and to greet the commissioners, deputy county manager, and assistant county managers. We'll ask that you then stand off to the side so that we can take a group photo at the end of the ceremony. As I start calling each group by years of service, I ask that everyone in that group please stand and congregate in the back. We're going to go ahead and get started with those with 5 years of service. All right, first up we have Joe Adams with the County Attorney's Office. Elaine Capps with Facilities and Construction Management. Bobby Dick with Utilities. Charlie Duverge with Utilities. Caitlin Eck with Public Safety. Summer Hancock with Utilities.
Thank you so much.
Kevin Kipker with Lee County Transit. Dylan Pantoja with Public Safety. Benjamin Small, County Manager's Office. Mark Smolka, Facilities and Construction Management.
Thanks, Riley. Thank you. Appreciate it.
G. Sotolongo, Public Safety. Jose Verona, Facilities Construction Management. And our final 5-year recipient this morning, Timothy Wish, Facilities Construction Management. We'll ask now that our 10-year recipients stand and move to the back. Donnie Bogard, DOT Operations. Aaron Junkin, Visitor and Convention Bureau. J.C. Meyer, Public Safety. We have a special one next. Commissioner Pendergrass, 10 years.
Got a hug from Pete.
Yes. Liz Zerminski, Parks and Rec. Thank you. Sandra Tapfumine, Public Safety. Raymond Taveras, Utilities. I apologize, I missed someone in the 5-year. Forgive me, Kayla. Kayla Penta with Utilities. Sorry, Kayla. All right, we're ready for our 15-year recipients. If you all would stand and move to the back. We only have 2 this morning. With 15 years of service, Eugene Fernandez, Parks and Recreation.
Yes, sir.
And Angela LaMontagne with Solid Waste. We're ready for our 20-year recipients, if you all would stand. We only have 2 20 years this morning. We have Jerry La Rochelle with Facilities Construction Management.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Great, sir. Excellent. Thank you. Well, personally, thank you.
And then our final 20-year recipient this morning is Assistant County Manager Glenn Salyer. And we're ready for our 25s, if you all would like to stand. 25. 25's coming up. Our first 25-year recipient this morning is James Kale with Facilities and Construction Management.
Love my job.
Aw, that's great to hear. Leslie Urshan with County Lands. Earl Marinell with Transit. Our final 25-year recipient this morning is Treva Poole with Transit. Our final length of service recipient this morning has 30 years with Lee County government, and that is Kevin Guerin with Public Safety. Congratulations.
Second generation EMS. His father and I used to work together on the road.
So that's all of our recipients this morning. Congratulations to all of the employees that were recognized today. We thank you for your service to Lee County. We're going to ask that everyone comes back to the front. We'll take a big group photo, and then we'll be finished with length of service this morning.
Well done.
Thank you.
He's doing pretty good. Pretty good.
There's a 24 box.
That's pretty cool, man. 10. I don't even know if I
You
even
get in six,
got a
you get in
5.
8 months now. Yeah, we didn't. Did we get anything 5?
No, I don't think so. Oh. All right, we're looking up top in the balcony.
Balcony. Squishing.
Like we like each other. Remember, we're one org.
Yourself in that photo.
Good job. Thank you all.
Congrats, everybody. My favorite meetings.
Yeah.
Got you. I got your stuff downstairs.
One's left now.
That's cool. Well, as they're making their final way out, I just want to say thank you so much to all of them for the hours, the years, the blood, sweat, and tears they put into serving the residents of Lee County. Amazing. And congratulations, Mr. County Manager, to you and your entire team for building an environment where people want to work and stay for 25 and 30 years. So that's just really speaks a lot to the quality of the organization.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's always interesting to see how many 5-year people we have, and that number is feels like it's growing every quarter, and the dedication that's shown by these employees and as they work through their careers really is stunning, and it's such a privilege to get to work with them. And thank you for all the support that the County Commission gives to help in that effort to make this the best local government organization to work for in this region. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll take up the recap. I see no items on the recap that require a motion, so we will move to the consent agenda. Commissioner Pendergrass, do you have any items you'd like to pull for discussion?
No.
Okay, I have no items I'd like to pull. Commissioner Sandelli? Commissioner
No, sir.
Okay, so no items have been pulled for this discussion. At this time, I'd like to call for public comment on the items that appear on the consent agenda. I have a card from Mr. William Joe Schottmiller. It says items 5 and 8 he would like to speak on. So Mr. Schottmiller, if you'd like to come to the podium. And then I also have a card from Marcia Ellis, who has a few items she wanted to speak on. When you come to the podium, the mic's all set. You don't need to touch it. And you've got the green light that'll let you know how much time you have. When it starts to get yellow and red, that's when to slow down.
Good morning, everybody. William Joseph Schottmiller. Number 5 was confirm the FEMA trailers. Now, I know you give some addresses here where the FEMA are, and it's a temporary use of people that have been displaced. But I was out with Fernando that has St. Martin's out in North Fort Myers, and I noticed a bunch of FEMA trailers on State Street in North Fort Myers. And none of them, except for maybe 2 at the very end, were used. And I can't understand that with the housing crisis and that they're not utilized. They're on State Street. And like I said, with us advocates have been trying to get some type of affordable housing. I mean, and what does the county have? I mean, I've asked several times, and I've asked the city, surplus property that might have buildings on it, that we all could work to come up with some solutions for this crisis, you know, putting together. We've got a lot of guys with construction backgrounds and that, you know, and that's why we've asked for the seed money, grant money and that. So that's why I'll keep plugging along and asking. Number 8 was where are we at here? About extension of building and housing in Lehigh. We need chunks that maybe Lois Healy, the lady that spelt the efficiencies. So it's not just maybe 4 at a time, but a multitude, kind of like what Habitat's doing on Prospect, you know? Having like a subdivision so we're eliminating the problem, and people aren't sleeping on the street. You know, we got people only getting $100 a month and that. Let's get some different options for different people's income. So with that, I thank you. And also, somebody asked me to say this. There's been locks on the door at Lions Park. I don't know if that's county or city, for a long time. And you have children that play there, you have people who play basketball, and it needs to be addressed, you know. Have a camera there, you know, if you're worried about people doing drugs. That way people can utilize the bathrooms that are there. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. And Lions Park is a city park facility. Okay, our next speaker is Marcia Ellis.
Yes. If I could just pause the clock quickly for clarification. Just in terms of, I am planning on speaking on the administrative agenda, item number 2 under transportation. I understand that will be a separate 3 minutes.
Yes, I'll call on the administrative agenda. I'll call for
Okay,
public
thank you very much. And I also have a PowerPoint presentation that I was unable to bring up with some visualization regarding the crew parcels I am going to speak on. And if if you allow it, I could bring up that visualization at the end of the presentation in order to better understand the context of these 2 small crew parcels.
Okay. Yeah, at this time, go ahead and...
Okay, thank you. I'm speaking in regard to the acquisition of the 2 Conservation 2020 parcels in Crew. These are 2 2.5-acre parcels. There has been concern in regard to the less than robust acquisition of properties through the Conservation 2020 program. And there is a missed opportunity in the Crew watershed in regard to the 2,000+ acres that were part of the proposed Kingston settlement. Those 2,500 acres were number 4 on the Florida Forever acquisition list, and Lee County had pledged $1.5 million for the acquisition of those properties. Those properties would have provided access for the public and been connected to Corkscrew Sanctuary to the south. And so the acquisition of these 2.5-acre parcels that are isolated, not providing public connection, in my mind, really exemplify those missed opportunities that have been available to Lee County in the past, and I wanted to call attention to that. I also am going to speak about the public utilities, and in regard to that, that is item number 24, the contract for the development of the Master Utilities Plan. I will say that I have reviewed in depth the South Florida Water Management District meeting from November of 2022, as well as the accompanying literature. There is a situation on the north North Kingston property, along with Lehigh Acres, where we have an aquifer in trouble, the Sandstone Aquifer, and pulling water for that city in the swamp through surface water pumping of lakes, and then supplementing that through pumping from the aquifer is not best practice. I urge public utilities, in cooperation with scientific partners at Audubon and the universities, to work for a grant opportunity for an ASR, an Advanced Water Systems opportunity to reuse reclaimed water through positioning of a facility on that northern tract on the public facilities that are available. And I know that FDEP and South Florida Water Management District both have those as protocols to be followed. I know that this county can be acquiring those funds, and I know the scientific community can rally together with our partners in order to get that done for the protection of our natural resources. And I wanted to bring that opportunity forth today. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments this morning. Okay, does anybody else wish to speak on any items that appear on the consent agenda? And again, that would be items 1 through 27. All right, seeing no further comments, I'll close public comment, and we have a motion from Commissioner Pendergrass to approve the balance. The second is from Commissioner Ruane. Do we have any discussion, commissioners, on that?
I'd like to discuss real quick. I
Commissioner
just want
Pendergrass?
to compliment staff. We all got this week to meet with the FEMA staff and people from state management regarding the 2 items this morning with the trailers. I just want to commend staff. It was nice to hear, refreshing to hear from the FEMA staff that our county has been the easiest to work with across the country, our staff. So I think, Roger, you should know that, they were very complimentary of our staff, and it's unfortunate they don't get that same welcome in other parts of the country, but we were very gracious to them, and we really welcome them here.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any further discussion on the motion on the floor? All right, are there any objections to the motion? Seeing no objections, that motion carries unanimously. At this time, we'll take up the items on the administrative agenda. Mr. County Manager, will you introduce item number 1?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This morning, we will ask you to ratify the emergency expenditures executed under Lee County Emergency Resolution 22-09-31. Mr. Winton, will you please present the item?
Yes, thank you, Roger. Commissioners, these emergency purchase orders were opened immediately following Hurricane Ian under the state of local emergency. We provided you a hyperlink in the past week to the board that has all of the contracts, purchase orders, quotes, invoices received to date, and other documentation associated with each vendor that is associated with this agenda item. And finally, all of these costs are eligible for FEMA reimbursement.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions on the item in front of us?
No question. I actually was very pleased, worked with Pete and staff, appreciate all the documentation they provided, and I'll gladly move the item.
All right, Commissioner Ruane makes a motion for approval. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Sandelli. Very good. At this time, would anybody like to speak in public comment on administrative agenda item number 1? Okay, I see no public comment. Back to the board. Is there any discussion on the motion that's on the floor? Okay, I see no discussion. Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right, Mr. County Manager, please introduce item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This morning, we are asking you to select an alternative alignment option for Alico Road Connector Phase 1 widening, and ask Mr. Price to make the presentation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rob Price with DOT. Admin item number 2 seeks to clarify an item that was brought before the board on January 17th of this year. On that date, the board approved and adopted the Alico Road Connector Phase 1 widening analysis. The analysis evaluated widening options for the widening of Alico Road from Airport Hall Road to Green Meadow Road. While the analysis was previously approved and adopted by the board, an alignment option was not selected by the board. Staff is requesting that the board specifically select one of the alignments presented in the widening analysis. The widening analysis is included in your backup materials. It discusses 3 available alternatives for the project. Number 1, a north widening alternative. Number 2, a south widening alternative. And number 3, a no-build option. The no-build option fails to address long-range planning concerns and is not recommended at this time. The north alternative and south alternative were analyzed based on factors such as cost, environmental concerns, long-range area planning, and safety considerations. The recommendation of staff, based on the analysis of these factors, is to select a south widening alternative. While both widening options will increase the safety and operational efficiency of the corridor, the south alternative provides equal long-term benefits with the most negligible environmental impacts and the lowest estimated cost. We would request that the board move to select one of the alignments presented in the analysis. The project may then proceed in a manner as you directed. We are available for any questions.
Very good. Commissioners, do you have any questions at all?
Rob, do you have do we have an actual projection? So what's shown here, is that the south currently shown there in the red, just so everybody can see this watching at home?
The alignment's not actually shown on here. We do have some maps, and I could.
Just want it for visibility, because people are not going to know the difference between north and south. They're going to get confused because it's,
Yes, sir.
it's not really north. I mean, it's not really south. It's more southeast.
Right.
But just want to.
We could get the projector. I could put the alignment actually. The alignment's
Yeah, if
on
you
there.
have it, yeah.
If the folks in the tech booth could fire up that projector.
I just want to thank the board also for the last few years of being in support of this project. I think we all see how important it is to create some new traffic grids in the area with all the growth in southeast Lee County. This is going to be a game changer for southeast Lee County between Estero, Bonita, and the South Fort Myers. This is going to help relieve traffic off of Colonial, Dangles, and Corkscrew corridor. It's going to bring economic development out to the eastern part of Lee County too, and hopefully this will expedite our water treatment facility in Alico too. So I know I've been very supportive of that, and hopefully this can expedite that much needed water treatment facility to get people off the septics off of Alico Road. So, Rob, do you want to go over this now?
Yes, sir. So this is a south widening alternative. You can see we need some property from the front of Wild Blue where the lakes are. You can additionally see we need some property further to the east over here. Closer to Green Meadow Road, and then there are some parcels on the south side of the Green Meadow Road alignment today that we would also need.
Okay, great.
I have one question. Commissioners, anybody else have a question? Okay, my one question is, looking at the motion requested, Mr. County Manager, in the item, it just says to select an alternative alignment for the Alico Road Connector Phase 1 widening. The motion requested doesn't seem to actually outline which alignment is recommended. But it does say the management recommendation is to approve. Would you care to tell us which motion you're looking for?
Mr. Price?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we would like for you to move forward with adopting the south alignment for the study.
Okay, very good.
If I could, Chairman, make a motion to adopt the south alignment on this agenda item.
Very good. All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Pendergrass, and the second is from Commissioner Sandelli. All right, thank you very much. Any further questions before we take public comment? All right, at this time, I will call for public comment on this item. Has anybody, I see Ms. Ellis.
Thank you, gentlemen. When we look up here on the screen, we see where I live. So I have a lot of familiarity with the issues of this particular area. I have the pleasure of sharing my neighborhood with 2 flowways, with a panther breeding area, environmentally critical lands, and I'm asking that maximum public involvement as mandated through transportation elements be granted the families that live here in order to not only protect our property interests and our legal interest, but also to provide protection to the environmentally critical lands. You seriously look at all of the water around there, as well as these flowways for hazard mitigation, as well, and the wildlife, the federally endangered panther that are well documented in this area. I have been actively seeking as much public involvement through legal standing and cooperation with stakeholders through the MPO, reaching out to community liaison Victoria Peters, who eventually connected me with Vince Miller, the project lead. I was told that this would be brought forward for public peruse in the spring, and my knowledge of a north or south option is not not known at this time. I cannot evaluate this particular plan, though it affects me specifically as well as my neighbors. I'm the one who's pulling out into that dump truck traffic, so this matters to me. That intersection is important, and we need to better understand how we are going to merge with those dump trucks, because right now we are cut off. We can't turn left. We got to turn right, and then we're going to have to get into a line of dump trucks, cross another line of dump trucks, and then hang a tough left to get into town. So this is very real for us. I've asked even for a visualization of movement, a moving visualization, so that we can protect ourselves and our as we're moving into traffic there. I also want to say that I have reviewed the website that was given to me by Vince, and the information regarding these options is out of date. It says in the website that there is an appendix to the environmental considerations of number 14, which looked like was the plan cutting through, but it's not there. I haven't been able to review that. The plan that it was set up and that I was connected to when those considerations were given didn't include what looks like the Jamison parcel and Wild Turkey to the north. And so whether or not that study, the previous studies that I've been given access to as a public seeking it officially, they're inadequate and they're out of date. I understand because, like I say, I worked out in Lehigh Acres for 10 years. I saw all that traffic in Gateway. I just want to have maximum public involvement and cooperation among stakeholders to protect our interests, including wildlife and our safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. Does anybody else wish to speak in public comment on this item? Okay, seeing no further public comment at this time, back to the board for discussion. Commissioners, any discussion on the item? No? Okay. Just, want to echo Commissioner Pendergrass's comments that this will be, according to the modeling in our Department of Transportation, the single most important project we can do on our capital improvement program to alleviate the congestion on Daniels and Colonial. And, unfortunately, we're in a position where we're behind on building infrastructure because previous decisions were made decades ago to actually stop building roads. I think the thought back then was you would stop people from moving to Florida, and they didn't. And so now we're behind on infrastructure, and I think we've got to go ahead and move forward with making smart decisions like this to build the infrastructure that's necessary to serve the population of what is essentially a small state now that we have in Lee County. So, all right, I'll go ahead and call the question then, seeing no further discussion. Are there any objections? All right, no objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right, Mr. County Manager, please introduce item number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, we're asking you to award contract for the construction of Big Carlos Pass Bridge this morning. Rob?
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Rob Price with DOT. Admin item number 3 is to award a contract with Superior Construction Company Southeast LLC to replace the Big Carlos Pass Bridge. The contract is in the amount of $90,835,000. The project will replace the existing drawbridge structure with a 60-foot fixed span bridge, including pedestrian and bicycle features, a fishing pier, utilities to serve both Lee County utilities and Bonita Springs utilities, and the creation of a new barrier reef in the Gulf of Mexico using the demolished material from the existing bridge. Federal Highway Administration and FDOT are contributing a total of $25 million in funding towards the construction of the new bridge over 3 years, beginning in fiscal year 25-26. We anticipate construction beginning in April with completion slated in late 26, early 27. Staff is here to answer any questions.
Any questions, Commissioners, on this? Commissioner Sandelli?
If I understand correctly, Superior's already in the market and operating, I think, on the causeway, so they're geared up and ready to go.
Yes, sir. They're the design build contractor for FDOT on the Sanibel Causeway.
Any further questions? No. Mr. Price, one question I did have. The two bridges will have the bicycle and pedestrian facilities that will facilitate that. I think it's an alternative Sun Trail route that's going to come through?
That's correct, yes. There will be 7-foot bike lanes on both sides of the roadway. There's going to be a 6-foot sidewalk on one side of the bridge and a 10-foot shared use path on the other side.
Excellent. Okay, very good. All right, at this time, then, I'll take public comment on the Big Carlos Pass Bridge construction. Has anyone come to speak on this item? All right, seeing no public comment, Commissioners, does somebody wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Sandelli, and the second is from Commissioner Ruane. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing no discussion, are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. All right, Mr. County Manager, please introduce item number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Administrative item number 4, we are asking you to approve the Sanibel Causeway resiliency measures and recreational area amenities. Mr. Price?
Morning again, Commissioners. Rob Price with DOT. Admin item number 4 is a follow-up item from the February 6, 2023 board workshop. At that workshop, DOT asked the Commissioners for direction on whether to incorporate FDOT recommended resiliency measures along with the planned recreational amenities and the ongoing reconstruction of the Sanibel Causeway. I'm going to advance the slide here real quick. The total cost to repair the causeway and bridges is estimated at $285,343,064, of which the county's share is $46,090,497, with the balance coming from the Federal Highway Administration. The recreational amenities that were already planned and under design by the County Facilities Department can be incorporated into the FDOT project at an additional cost of $5,579,552 to the county with no federal participation. Based on the discussion at the workshop, we brought this item to the Commission to direct staff to move forward with the FDOT recommended resiliency measures along with incorporating the recreational area amenities into the FDOT permanent repairs of the Sanibel Causeway.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Ruane?
Just a couple of comments. I'm glad we all got together on the workshop and talked about this. There was an opportunity to make this go from a pretty low dollar amount to a high dollar amount, which obviously resiliency being the issue. There's a price tag that we saw in our workshop of $52 million, which would be our cost share. I did, when I was up at Tallahassee, met with both the House and the Senate, indicated the number of dollars we would need. The resiliency efforts on this were very important to both resiliency House and Chair, understanding the costs going up to the degree they did. Furthermore, I'll be meeting with Lieutenant Governor Nunez at 3 o'clock on Friday. Our ask will be very specific about meeting the match that we're looking to on the bridges. When you go back and reflect on the YouTube video, and the chairman at the time was Cecil on the bridge, if you listen to the governor carefully, I would walk away from that indicating that he was going to build a bridge. I didn't think that there'd be a price tag associated with it. So kind of my tenure, what I was saying up there was just, we'll fix the bridge, we'll build a new one. So I just said this would be a significant issue that we need to do, but more importantly, the dollar amount that we would have to do for a match would be significant in nature. Both the House and the Senate said they would work through whatever issues they need to try to support us. And I'd be in favor of moving this item.
Excellent. Would you like to make the motion?
I am. That'll be make a motion to approve this item.
Okay, motion for approval from Commissioner Ruane and the seconds from Commissioner Sandelli. Any further discussion or questions before we take public comment?
I think the only thing that I keep in mind is that we've done so much work on our barrier islands and the beaches, stabilizing them, rebuilding them, so on and so forth. I think the improvements that we make here will be accretive to the overall plan, and I think it's certainly worth going forward.
Very good. Has anyone come to speak in public comment on the Sanibel Causeway item today? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. We have a motion from Commissioner Ruane and a second from Commissioner Sandelli. Any further discussion on that? Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right, item number 5, Mr. County Manager, please introduce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The final administrative item today, we're asking you to approve changes to the Cape Coral Bridge design. Mr. Price, this is your final agenda item today.
Finally, good morning, Commissioners. Again, this is Rob Price with DOT. Admin item number 5 is also a follow-up to the February 6, 2023 board workshop. At the workshop, DOT presented the board with options to replace the westbound span of the Cape Coral Bridge, along with widening the eastbound span. In order to be eligible for federal grant opportunities, widening of the eastbound span will require enhanced vessel collision measures that significantly increase the cost of construction of the eastbound widening. Alternatively, the board was presented with the option of replacing both the eastbound and westbound spans now. Full replacement of both bridges now would increase the lifespan of both bridges to 75 to 100 years at an increase in costs of $20.4 million. Based on discussion at the workshop, we have brought this item for the commissioners to officially direct staff to move forward with replacement of both spans.
Very good. All right. Any questions for Mr. Price?
No.
All right. Seeing no questions for Mr. Price, I'll call for public comment. Has anyone come to speak on the Cape Coral Bridge design? Okay. Seeing no speakers, then I'll close public comment. Commissioner
Mr. Chair, I gladly will move this item. We obviously had a great workshop. We all decided and thought it was in our best interest to go forward with securing 75 years for both bridges and obviously recognizing the $20.4 million in additional costs. So I'll move the item.
Second.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Ruane and the seconds from Commissioner Pendergrass. Any further discussion on that item? Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. At this time, I'd like to recognize the County Attorney's Office for public hearing number 1.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Halverson, County Attorney's Office. I have your public hearing this morning. This item has been duly advertised, and I provided the affidavit of publication to the clerk. Item 1 is a petition to vacate the public's interest in the unimproved public utility easement centered along the common property lot line between lots 4 and 5 of the platted lots at 1416 Cortez Avenue in Lehigh Acres. There were no objections to the requested vacation, and staff's available for any questions.
Any questions, Commissioners, on this item? Okay. Seeing no questions, at this time, I'll call for public comment. Has anyone come to speak in public comment on public hearing number 1? Okay, seeing none, then we'll close public comment. Back to the board. Anybody wish to make a motion?
Gladly move the item.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Ruane, second from Commissioner Sandelli. Any further discussion? Seeing no discussion, are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Halverson. All right, at this time, we will move to walk-ons and carryovers. Mr. County Manager, we have none this morning?
We have no walk-ons or carryovers this morning, Mr.
No walk-ons and no carryovers. At this time, then, we'll move to Commissioner items. Commissioner Pendergrass, do you have anything?
No items.
Okay. Commissioner Sandelli? Commissioner Ruane?
Yeah, just quickly, as a result of additional visit up to Tallahassee, we talked about a number of items. There was a special session. Another $700 million was allocated to Hurricane Ian. $50 million was actually set aside for some loans for the municipalities for operating. It'll be through the DEO. It was funded with $50 million in mind, give the opportunities for some of the municipalities that are running behind in their collections, some of the revenue streams to make sure they would do so. In addition, Representative Botana asked that staff accumulate a list of projects that we had, and we want to do it in a global forum. Currently, in a global forum, meaning Lee County as a region, most of the allocations that have been by the region. So when Beach Renourishment was done, the first award was $23 million, indicated that we needed $75 million. The CBDGR grant is going to be between $500 million and $1 billion. It's going to come direct to the county. That's what county staff asked for, so we get to allocate it. There is a 20% administration fee for us handling all those items. We broke down the items between natural resources, septic, and tolls. I went through, as I'd indicated before, with various people in the House and the Senate to indicate just the financial impact it would be on our core share for the causeway for the various bridges, almost being $70 million, including stoplights and street signs. Very aware of it. And in final, the total number of projects that were submitted across Lee County is a little over $1.5 billion. As a sum, Glenn was extremely helpful in putting together a list. I'll make sure it gets circulated to everybody as far as that's concerned. But that's my report on Tallahassee, as well as the task force just trying to stay focused. It was an honor to go back up again. It was an honor to work. And there seems to be a real desire on specific asks. I indicated before that the Lieutenant Governor is coming down here on Friday. She has a dinner. But at 3 o'clock, staff is going to allow me a couple different opportunities. One, to talk about the possibility of receiving engineers to help us with some of the FEMA inspections. We could have local engineers do it as opposed to FEMA because it's delaying parks and beaches getting open. You know, the second item that we're going to obviously reiterate is the needs to have the funding for the bridges that matches a significant nature. It's just going to deplete our reserves to a degree. So I have an opportunity to make sure we are consistent both in the House and the Senate with the Lieutenant Governor. We did meet with the Governor's office as well to indicate our concerns and assistance we might need. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions at all? No? Thank you for the report and for your hard work up there, Commissioner Ruane. Appreciate that. Commissioners, I do have one item I wanted to bring forward. Apologize for not putting it on the recap as a notification, but we each received, I received a letter and you were each copied on it from our clerk of courts. I wanted to provide him an opportunity to just outline the letter and the recommendations that he made within it. Good morning, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate your time this morning. I'm speaking today in regards to our Hurricane Ian recovery and lessons learned efforts. I want to first start off by thanking this board, all of county administration, and our first responders for the great work that we've done since Hurricane Ian hit a couple months ago. I think we're 6 or 7 months past storm landfall, and I know that you all are very busy getting our community back to normal. But as your comptroller, I would like the board to take a moment to consider what we can do next time for lessons learned. I know there's not a right time to kind of start that conversation. I know we're very busy. You're still working with FEMA. You're still getting a lot of questions from the community about what their needs are. But unfortunately, hurricane season is just 4 short months away. And so I want to make sure that we're all in a better place, because I think this board, all of county administration, and all the constitutional officers want to do lessons learned and really dive into those operations and says what worked, what didn't work, and what we consider for next time. So in response to the storm, I asked my senior leadership team to do that for all of my office operations, not just board operations. It just so happens that board operations were one of the first things that got to a point where we can make a recommendation. So I sent a letter to you all on Friday, February 16th, with just an opportunity to have a conversation about potential changes to the procurement ordinances that you have today. We all have very complex processes and procedures in regards to procurement. And so I intentionally left my recommendations vague so we can have a collaborative conversation about what those changes would be as we start to move closer to the June 1st hurricane season start date. So I appreciate the board's consideration of considering some lessons learned. I plan to do this with the chief judge of the 20th Circuit as well. This is really just an opportunity to open up a conversation, take those lessons learned into consideration, and if we choose not to make those changes, at least we're on record about having that conversation and doing the best thing for Lee County citizens. But I appreciate your time this morning, and I'm available for any questions.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions for our clerk? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. Carnes. And just under discussion, Commissioners, I think the appropriate course of action for the letter would be to direct our staff to meet with the clerk's office to try and understand the recommendations that were made and see if there are any that they'd like to bring forward for a future change. Commissioner Pendergrass?
I don't have the letter with me because it wasn't on the agenda per administrative code, so I didn't bring it with me to review, but I had a question for the county attorney. I think the letter referred to changes the ordinance related to the procurement process. Is that correct, County Attorney? I don't have the current letter here in front of me, so.
Mr. County Attorney, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Yes, you're correct. There were certain recommendations with regard to changing our ordinance.
So based upon our staff meetings this week after receiving the letter, I think was discussed by your office administrator, that could be done from the dais through a policy change based upon without changing ordinance credit. Is that correct?
I believe some of the recommendations could be reached through policy direction and/or direction to your staff. Yes, but not having undertaking a full analysis. I can't answer.
So that's something that could be conveyed to the clerk's office and his staff if they wish to have.
Be happy to do that. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. We had that discussion last week. So I was asked, we got the letter, and I just don't have it here with me to word by word. But that's something that could be done as a policy decision by the board instead of changing the ordinance.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
If the board so directs, we'd be happy to coordinate both with county administration and the clerk's office to recognize any improvements that could be made and then outline a course of action to have those improvements moved forward.
See, I think, Mr. West, you're right in line with what I was thinking. I was thinking we could just start with a simple meeting to talk about the letter and what the recommendations were, and then develop whether or not anything needs to come back as a policy change. That's all.
And I would be supportive of that, is just make sure that I'm clarifying that I don't think we've done anything wrong. I think nothing's wrong as far as being transparent. I think the word was used, transparent, and everything's on our website. Everything's very transparent in this process, the procurement, and the contract. So I was to make sure the general public understands we have been transparent. We're not admitting to anything that's done could be done differently. We're just looking to maybe improve the process in the future.
Certainly, and, you know, I think everybody's entitled to view it the way they view it. Sure, absolutely, that makes sense. Any other comments?
No, listen, I appreciate the discussion. I think it's always important as we go through this. We're going to continue to look backwards always and say, you know, what do we do? What can we do better? And that's what this opportunity is. I appreciate the clerk's office assisting us and giving us the various information. He's our check and balance. I come from a world where we rely on checks and balances, and you know, we go through the audit process every year in my private company, so I would embrace the conversation and/or whatever recommendations are there. But I think that makes sense.
Yeah, very good. All right, do you need anything further, Mr. County Manager, on that?
I don't think so, Mr. Chair. We're happy to meet with the clerk and have these conversations so that we can ultimately craft recommendations for you.
Excellent, thank you very much. All right, thank you, that concludes my commissioner item. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. At this time, we will move to committee appointments. Does anybody have any committee appointments outside of the Charter Review Commission?
I do.
Okay, Commissioner Pendergrass, go ahead and make your committee appointments.
A new appointment of Peter Boldrin for the Whiskey Creek Club Estates.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Pendergrass and a second from Commissioner Ruane. Do we have any further discussion on that? Are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Sandelli?
I've got two for the Town and River Improvement Unit, Mark Generalis and John Christak.
Okay, very good. We have a motion from Commissioner Sandelli and a second from Commissioner Ruane. Do we have any further discussion? Are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. All right, does that conclude all the appointments outside of Charter Review Commission?
Yes.
Okay. The Charter Review Commission is something that we appoint for every 8 years, and I'd like to ask our county attorney to explain the process for that and why it's a little bit different than what the other committee appointments look like.
Certainly. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Commissioners, we had requested that the matter be bifurcated between these appointments and the appointments you just made, simply because the previous appointments require board action. These charter appointments do not require board motion or second. They represent the individual appointments of each commissioner, and therefore the purpose of today's agenda item is merely to announce to the public as well as one another whom you each have selected to serve on the Charter Review Commission. Once announced, no board action is necessary to ratify and confirm.
Okay. So we'll just go down the line then. Commissioner Pendergrass, would you like to announce your appointments?
Yes, I'd like to appoint Lisa King, Carl Baracco Jr., and Nathan Fred Shaw.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Sandelli, would you like to announce your appointments?
I have three: Randall Mercer, Ron Ing, and Richard Aiken.
Okay, very good. And Commissioner Ruane?
I have three: Noel Andrews, Doug Congress, and Kevin Brusher.
Very good. Commissioners, I am going to make the announcement on Commissioner Greenwell's behalf. He was unable to join us today. So Commissioner Greenwell's Charter Review Commission appointments are Keith Dean, Maribel Sanchez, and Marianne Preston. And I would like to announce that my appointments to the Charter Review Commission are Andrew Sund, Eric Feichthaler, and Ishmael Hernandez. Okay. Does that satisfy everything, Mr. County Attorney, that we needed to do?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. So we'll move now to the county manager items. Mr. County Manager, you know what? Actually, before we do take up the county manager items, I want to just admit they told me 2 times prior to the meeting today that we would have a Red Sox and Twins video, and I completely blew by it and skipped it when we did that Red Sox and Twins presentation earlier today. Mr. County Manager, it's at your pleasure of your team. I know y'all probably worked really hard on that video. Would you like to show that real quickly?
Mr. Chair, we would be happy to do that.
Okay, so if it's possible technically to add the video, I will admit, they told me twice, and I was like, I'm gonna remember this, and I didn't write it down. We got so excited about the Twins and Red Sox being here that I just skipped by it. You know, and again, it was so impressive to read the list of things that they have done to help our community since the hurricane, to see the video, to put the visuals with that, again, makes it even more impressive. And thank you again for recognizing the contributions of the Red Sox and the Twins, Mr. County Manager. At this point, I'll recognize you for your items.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to show everyone that video. I have two items today to discuss briefly. First one, I'm going to ask Mr. Mora to talk to you about a transitional sheltering assistance extension letter that's required.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. The letter that Roger is referring to is an extension to the Transitional Sheltering Assistance Program that FEMA administrates. It is set to expire on March 28th. The Transitional Sheltering Assistance has assisted about 286 people here in Lee County. The participants were residing in hotels throughout the state of Florida, here in Lee County and throughout the southeast U.S. The request is to extend that to 90 more days. This will allow case managers to work with displaced residents to find some resolution to their housing issues.
Very good. And so we've signed this letter and sent it because it was of an urgent nature. But commissioners, I think the request is just to acknowledge that we've signed that and bring it to your attention that it was an important, urgent letter we needed to get signed. Do you need any action, Mr. Mora?
Nope. Thank you very much for signing that letter. It was urgent. That's been routed to FEMA through DEM, so we appreciate it.
Excellent. Commissioners, any questions on that at all?
No, thank you for all the work.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay. Mr. County Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This, the second issue is vitally important to talk about and make sure that we make this information public. As you'll recall, on February 14th, Commissioner Pendergrass received a letter from a FEMA representative that was critical of the methodology used by the property appraiser for determining property value, properties that have been damaged by the hurricane. Subsequently, on Friday of last week, we were on a conference call with FEMA's, the State Department of Emergency Management, Mr. Caldwell, Commissioner Hammond was on the call as well, along with Mr. Wesh and some Lee County staff. We, subsequent to that meeting, we have a letter from FEMA dated February 17th, but received on Saturday the 18th. And I would like for Mr. Moore to actually put a little meat on the bone there and, with a little more detail and explain to the board the outcome and what we do going forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good morning again, Commissioners. Since after Ian, Lee County has issued thousands of repair permits and referred our residents to the property appraiser's just value letter as a source of their property valuation for use in the 50% calculation. At no time were staff aware that there was a flaw in inappropriate use of this valuation until a February 14th letter that the county and municipalities received from Jackie S. Bell, Director of FEMA's Mitigation Division. That letter, and Roger referred to it, made claim of wide disparities in how value adjustments are applied to hurricane-damaged property and strongly recommended using methods other than the product created by the property appraiser's office. This letter further threatened a loss of premium discount for our residents and potential sanctions to include probation, suspension from the National Flood Insurance Program. Lee County Community Development continued to issue permits using the property appraiser's just value letter despite the letter from FEMA. This past Friday, on February 17, 2023, the county facilitated a conference call with FEMA and FDM to provide clarity regarding the property appraiser's methodology for establishing assessed values. During that call, Matt Caldwell, the Lee County property appraiser, thoroughly explained his methodology for establishing assessed values for substantially damaged buildings and requested a letter from FEMA reversing their position conveyed to Lee County on February 14, 2023. During that call, FEMA representative Mr. Jason Hunter advised that if jurisdictions were confident in the values provided by Mr. Caldwell, they should continue the issuance of building permits using it as a basis for calculating the 50% rule. Later on that day, FEMA issued a clarification letter stating that the county property appraisers have the authority to assess the value of real property and are charged with deriving property valuations. While this letter is not a full retraction, it did indicate a better understanding of the methodology and suggested FEMA will continue to work with Lee County officials on this particular issue. Based upon that call and the subsequent letter, Lee County has continued the issuance of building permits using the property appraiser's just value letter as the basis of calculating the 50% rule. and we will continue to do such until further notice.
Mr. Chair, we, as a staff, we recommend that we continue issuing these building permits based on the values produced by a property appraiser, and would recommend to the cities as well that they continue to issue building permits based on those substantially damaged values, that produced by the property appraiser. And I have to tell you that Mr. Caldwell really did a masterful job in explaining to FEMA his methodology, and it was clear that FEMA does not understand the way property values are established in Florida. One of the examples they gave as inconsistency was a widely disparate values from one house to the next on the same roadway. Mr. Caldwell explained the homestead exemption law and how you would absolutely expect to see someone who lives in a home on a road for 25 years, would their property value, their assessed value would be considerably lower than a new home, for example. And so, it would appear, without understanding how that all works, that there was a problem with the values. So we're pretty confident now that we can move forward without a fear of losing our NFIP status, and this issue now resolved.
Excellent. Any questions, commissioners, on that? No, Roger, I want to thank you and your team for working so quickly to iron out the miscommunication and misunderstanding there. I was quite frankly just surprised that a letter like that could be released when it was so easily settled with a phone call. And the other thing that I learned from just sitting in and listening on the call, this isn't anything that our property appraiser in Lee County does differently. It's not even his method. This is the state of Florida's methodology for valuing property. We have a Save Our Homes law. We have a homestead exemption. Looking at the assessed value of properties is going to be radically different. But when you look at the just value, that's the market value, and that's what we're using for our substantial damage determinations as well. So. Anyways, it was a rough couple days. A lot of panicked people because we'd already issued 24,000 permits as well, and here we were looking at a change in the middle of the game. So, thank you for your work on that, Commissioner Sandelli.
Chairman, I echo his comments. It came suddenly, caught us all by surprise, and caused some issues. And thank you for addressing it. What I don't want to do though is we worked very closely with FEMA. They've done a great job, and I don't want this to overshadow all the good work that they've done. We'll continue that, and it's important to us as a community as a whole. So thanks.
All right. Any further discussion then on that? All right. Thank you, Mr. County Manager. Any other items?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Those are my comments for today.
Okay, very good. At this time, County Attorney, you're recognized.
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, very good. At this time, we will move to public presentation of matters by citizens. I have a few cards. I'd like to call first Gene Sims, followed by Alan Bills.
Morning, Major.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Gene Sims. I'm the first Vice President for the Southwest Florida and Lee County Fair Association. This Thursday, February 23rd, marks the opening day of the 99th Annual Southwest Florida Lee County Fair held here in Lee County, Florida. The Southwest Florida and Lee County Fair Association is licensed under the state of Florida, Chapter 616, to hold an agricultural fair, and we are recognized as a district fair representing the counties of Lee, Charlotte, Collier, DeSoto, Glades, and Henry. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, we invite you to join us for our ribbon cutting ceremony celebrating the opening of our 99th annual fair, and specifically as our district representative, invite Commissioner Greenwell to be in attendance to cut the ribbon. The ceremony will be held on Thursday, February 23rd at 3:45 p.m. at our entry gates. The fair is an 11-day event, and we are happy to welcome more than 105,000 fairgoers and exhibitors during this time. We also welcome each of you to join us as your time allows, and we welcome and greet the public daily through Sunday, March the 5th. This year, we have more than 700 exhibitors registered to show more than 2,000 entries. This encompasses all areas of competition, including livestock shows in 6 divisions: goats, horses, small animals, beef breeders, swine, and steer, open community exhibits, quilting, culinary, photography, and more. Our Lee County School booth competition, our 4-H and FFA club booth competitions, as well as various other youth and club competitions. We're proud supporters of the 4-H and FFA and are happy to foster a growing relationship not only within our clubs but also within our growing community. We have partnered with Harry Chapin Food Bank for many years and are excited to offer sensory-friendly hours at our fair this year for those with special sensory needs, as well as our continued honoring of our first responders and military. At the 98th Annual Fair held in 2022, our Youth Market Animal Auction raised more than $750,000 as the exhibitors sold their 4-H and FFA animal projects to community partners, with all funding going to the exhibitors. Our Board of Trustees award more than $50,000 annual to our exhibitors in premiums, awards, and scholarships. We look forward to the planning of celebrating our 100th annual fair next year and hope that you will join us in continuing making memories since 1924. Thank you for your time and your input.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. Alan Bills, followed by Matthew Reinberger. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate your time, and thanks again for giving me an opportunity to speak about this. My topic's going to be Bill 735, created by the state of Florida for licensing. In my opinion, it's poor at best. I've been in business for over 30 years with no complaints against me in Lee or Hendry County. I've had conversation with Representative Mike Gilambardo, who is actually one of the lawmakers of Bill 735. He assured me it was being misinterpreted, that there was no language when we were speaking face-to-face in the bill that would keep counties from continuing to issue specialty contractor licenses. He spoke to me face-to-face and said that. I've also spoken with Representative Jenna Persons-Malika in length, who also assured me it was being misinterpreted and that she has been conversing with Lee County on this issue, trying to work it all out, again saying it's being misinterpreted. I've been working on this since August of 21, when Hendry County enlightened me on this. The bill is devastating to 2,400 specialty contractors and their employees in Lee County alone. This is a statewide problem. There's also another 96 in Hendry County. We have an issue with unlicensed contractors as it is, and after June 30th, it's going to get much worse. The state has also eliminated some contractor licenses, which will leave homeowners in our community very vulnerable for terrible workmanship, and they will have no recourse on the person doing the work. Many won't even have insurance. I want to thank you for working with the state on straightening this out. This is a right-to-work state. I plan to do so, but without you helping fix this for our community, as well as for the contractors, it's going to create a hardship on contractors as well as the community. I, along with many others, are dealing with the aftermath of Ian, repairing our home, trying to run my business, and working whether I will still, and worrying whether I'm still going to have a business come June 30th, after 30 years. There surely has been time, there's been no time for me to take a test again. After taking a 10-hour test over 30 years ago to comply with my work realm. I feel like I'm being blackmailed by this bill. I have nothing to prove to the state that I am competent to do my work.
Mr. Bills, thank you. Your time has expired, but thank you for your comment.
Thank you very much for your time. You have a good day.
We would like to call Matthew Reinberger, followed by Tim Rose.
Good morning. I'm here today on behalf of Septic Sucks, a citizen-led effort calling on state and county elected officials to address the septic systems that are ruining our water. Clean water is one of the top issues in our state. Each year, we continue to be plagued by algae and red tide. The science has not changed, and we have known for a long time that septic tanks are the leading cause of pollutants in our waterway. For more than a decade, the state of Florida, university studies, and common sense has told us that septic tanks are harmful, causing algae blooms, killing seagrasses, and not to mention the danger to human health. If we want to stop algae and red tide, then septic tanks must be addressed. We can't continue delaying, and it must take priority. Septic tanks are especially vulnerable during large storms, such as the 2 hurricanes Ian and Nicole that hammered the state last year. In 2016, the Florida legislature passed the Florida Springs Protection Act, and in 2021, the Clean Waterways Act. Governor DeSantis stood strong on this issue and allocated $114 million, not to mention the last round he just did a couple weeks ago. And the facts are simple. Florida has an estimated over 2.7 million septic tanks, with 133,747 in Lee County as of 2019. And those are the ones that we know about, as the tracking of septic tanks is not entirely accurate, since we only know about a system when a tank needs to be installed or repaired. A lawsuit against FDEP brought by the Bear Warriors United has been filed over septic tanks leaking so much pollution that they are killing manatees. As a group of concerned citizens, we are calling on state and county officials to act. We call upon the Florida Department of Health and the Department of Environmental Protection under Chapter 64E6 of the Florida Administrative Code to halt permitting on any new septic systems, develop a plan to have all existing septics either upgraded to include nutrient removal technology or converted to central sewer by 2030, and support Governor DeSantis and expansion of the Clean Waterways Act as a way to ultimately upgrade our water treatment plants and remove all traditional septic systems. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call Tim Rose, followed by Steve Brown. Morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you. My name is Tim Rose. I'm representing the Estero Mustangs youth football program out of District 2. We pull from District 2, District 3, District 5. Probably better, more appropriate if Steve Brown went first, but I can tee up the conversation. We went in tandem. But I represent the youth programs here. We are affected by the lights that have been turned off at our youth facility after the hurricane. A lot of them were able to be played after a couple weeks, and then we had practices, we had games. In January, we were told we cannot have lights, so there will not be lights for safety reasons. Steve will go into probably more of the details that are important to this point, but my big 3 points are youth sports have brought us together. The inability to play, we were able to raise thousands and tens of thousands of dollars for several families in our program by being a part of a community. These kids already have stuff taken away from them. They're the COVID generation. I have kids who had dances and field trips and schooling, sports opportunities taken away from them. We're now taking it away, and it's really tough to explain to my program and my kids that we're going backwards from being able to play 2 months ago to now we're able to play, and the lights have not changed. And I know that we're waiting for stuff, and Steve will talk more of the details. I just would ask the county to consider the impact of having, if you count all the kids who play in my program, they play in 2-3 sports, they play in multiple programs. We're probably talking 25 or 30,000 kids if you're multiplying them across how many teams and abilities to play that are affected. So just representing the youth program probably will be something that we crusade against, but we start tonight, and I have 300 families that want to put their kids on the field, and probably 20 or 30 of them that were directly lost everything for the hurricane. And the one thing their kids are looking for is playing football. It's true for baseball, swimming, tennis, soccer, name the sport. But we encompass a lot of districts in here, and I would like the county commission to consider the impact of something that is a risk management decision that wasn't true about 60 days ago. So Steve will set up a more detailed explanation, but those are the 3 points I wanted to convey for my district. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And Steve Brown.
Commissioners, thanks for having us here today. The first thing I'd like to point out is there's been a lack of discussion regarding the youth sports. Congratulations on getting the spring training baseball games and those fields up and running. Those are non-residents of Lee County. Our residents, our young people in this county are being told they can't be on their fields because the lights aren't bright enough in many of the parks. Our park in general at North Fort Myers Community Park has no damage. The damage that was there was trees. Members of our board, members of our coaches went there after the storm and cleaned it up. We were able to finish our season, our fall season, roughly 40 practices and 5 football games under the lights. Not a single issue of an injury due to lighting. 4 months later, we're told we can't be on our fields because the lights aren't bright enough. In our park, there's about 150 individual light bulbs on the poles. We're missing 7 light bulbs. I've sent letters to each of you, to the governor, to every senator, every representative, both federal and state, and got only one response. Of all the letters, of all the emails I've sent, it's over 100, one response. And that response basically put us off and said, they're waiting on FEMA inspectors. FEMA inspectors haven't inspected our parks yet. I find it miraculous that they were able to inspect those parks down there where these multi-million-dollar baseball players are playing, but where our kids and our young folks are going out on the fields to play, we can't find time to get them inspected. I have a hard time telling our kids that we're not having a season because the lights aren't bright enough in our parks. Many of them are living in damaged homes or makeshift homes without flooring and drywall, plumbing, and roofs. There are very few intersections in our county that have all the traffic lights, but we're not stopping cars traveling. We're saying, oh, we got to have commerce. Well, these kids need parks. These kids need to be able to go out and play. The intersection just outside of our park here in North Fort Myers normally has 16 traffic lights in it. It currently has 5. There's $20,000, $30,000 semis driving through this thing every week. Every day. I drive through it 4 times a day. If we don't give these kids a constructive outlet to find alternative ways to keep busy, they're going to find a way to stay busy. And the folks in blue and green are going to be picking these kids up because they don't have a way to keep them busy. I'm a product of this league that I'm here representing. I grew up in this league in the 80s. Mr. Greenwell was one of our mentors back then. I wish he was here today. It's time to use common sense to find ways to put kids on the field instead of risk management saying reasons why you can't put them on the field. I know I'm running out of time, so the one thing I'd ask all of you, let's take a day and let's tour these fields. Let's go in the evening, let's turn the lights on in the fields and walk around and use common sense and go, hey, that field is too dark to play. But most of these parks in this county, it's an inconvenience of lighting, it's not a danger of lighting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. So I'm glad Commissioner Pendergrass, you mentioned the administrative code earlier, because I read that commissioners can pull items out of public presentation of matters by citizens if they wish to discuss them at the end of the meeting. And this is one I want to discuss. I'm really, I got to be honest with you, on behalf of the people, I'm frustrated that we continue to get the emails and the comments about this. I want to just explain how it works when I get the email or the call about lights or not being able to be used and it's messing up our season. I have to rely on going to the county administration and asking them what's the story. And they tell me, the story is FEMA inspectors or lighting inspections and things like that. I was not aware, though, that they were allowed to finish the season under those lights. Could you respond to that? Is that true?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dave?
Jesse, you can answer that one. I can't answer.
Okay. Mr. Lavender?
Mr. Hammond, maybe,
Okay.
if I could, Chairman, maybe you
Yeah.
could also speak about the action the board took 2 weeks ago when you signed a letter to FEMA asking for more inspections.
Well, we did because, I mean, that was the biggest reason why we sent that letter to FEMA asking for more inspectors, because I know we got families waiting on these lights. But yeah, Mr. Lavender?
So shortly after the storm, we have given rights to every league's president. They have keys to the lights. It's really something in the youth league agreement that each league signs. So there was a little bit of activity right after the storm before we could conduct the proper light assessments, and that is what took place. Yeah.
You know, so I guess, I mean, it begs the question, why couldn't they play under them right now then?
They had not properly been assessed with the light level test kits that we now have throughout the department.
Mr. Raymond, I don't know if I can.
No, well, Mr. Brown, I appreciate it, Mr. Brown, but I'll work on it. I appreciate you.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Ruane, you have a question, and then I'll recognize you. Mr. County Manager, go ahead.
Dave, can you help us out here, please?
Yes, as Jesse said, we did the light level test. Once the light level test comes back, it lets you know, it tells you if it's safe to use the fields. Those fields are not safe to use. The lighting isn't appropriate. Therefore, that's why the fields were no longer allowed to be used at night. But the leagues can still use the fields during the day. I know that's difficult. I know that's not the optimum, but many leagues are doing that. They've adjusted their schedules to make that happen over the weekends. I, myself, Chris Brady, have spoken to a number of leagues about this conversation and worked with them to make sure they can get practice time, to make sure they can play. Again, based on the light situation, unfortunately, until we get inspectors there, we can't do anything to repair them. And they are not safe to use at this time. They don't provide enough light for the safety component.
And Dave, would you expand just a little bit, please, on the need for the FEMA inspection?
Yeah, in order for us to repair them and get reimbursed, we have to have FEMA come out and inspect them. They will not allow us to do any work prior to the inspection. So we went out and we secured and took down lights that were dangerous. That's an emergency repair, which you can do. You cannot fix the lights. We can't fix the electrical or fix any light fixtures until they come out and inspect it. We are doing drone footage. We're trying to move this quicker, so that when the inspectors are here, it makes it much quicker for them to go through. So we have drones coming in March to do, that's the earliest we can get it through Musco, and we're gonna do our entire light system. All youth fields, tennis courts, pickleball courts are all gonna be done at the same time.
And Dave, do we have a cost for all the repairs that need to take place?
I believe Jesse has that cost. I do not have it off the top of my
And
head.
the reason I asked that question is to, so we can make a decision whether or not we want to put that money at risk by repairing in advance of FEMA inspections.
Good question. Yeah.
So when the drone assessments conclude, we will have costs. We do not have accurate costs at this time.
Do we have
What's
an
the worst
approximate
case
cost yet?
scenario?
I'm sorry?
What's the worst case scenario?
This could potentially be millions of dollars.
Yeah. Let me ask this, Commissioner. Commissioner Wynn, go ahead.
So one of the questions and one of the points I made earlier is the ask that we're going to have to FEMA, and the Lieutenant Governor is going to be on Friday, is to allow us to have electrical contractors substitute and assist them so we could expedite this process. I mean, our problem right now is nobody's inspecting. Is there a suitable electrical engineer that has the ability locally to help us do this? That's for the ask to Lieutenant Governor to see if we could push this process through FEMA. Just trying to expedite this, so we not in this situation of gambling money and things of that nature.
Well, and we're also waiting on our light vendor too to make an inspection.
Yes, that's correct. That is the drone that we're waiting for. The earliest we could get it was March.
March, what date are we?
I believe the middle of March. if I'm correct.
20th.
March the 20th, okay. I want to ask, just because I want to know, Mr. County Attorney, is there a way that the leagues could have each parent or child sign a waiver to be able to play?
Mr. Chairman, for a number of reasons, we could not recommend that course of action.
Can you give me a few? I mean, I'd love to hear them. I just, look, the folks think that we're doing this to them. They do, right? They're mad. They don't understand why they were able to play under them last year. They think that we're doing this to them. We're not doing this to them. We want to help them get back to normalcy as quick as possible. I don't want them to leave here with the impression that we are doing this to them. So I want to try and explore every opportunity I can to help them.
I fully understand, Commissioner. The waiver action is not a course that we would recommend, as I pointed out, for a number of reasons, not the least of which is a question of truly informed consent. Then there's a question of capacity to consent, the question of which parent has the right to consent in some circumstances. And then there's also the question of monitoring to make sure only those parents that have fully informed consent forms on file actually put children on the field.
It's a huge burden to manage that, for sure. Okay. I don't know. So I don't know where we go from here, but
Push for local engineers to try to help assist in this process.
I have, but that's out of our control. Is there anything within our control that we could do, I guess is my
Mr. Chair?
question.
I don't have a good answer for you right this moment, but I'd like to get back together with all the appropriate staff members involved in doing the evaluation and coming up with a solution. I'd like to take one more shot at it to see if in fact there's something we can do to expedite the repairs, and then we'll, as soon as I've got that answer, we'll send you something in an email. It'll be well before your next board meeting. I mean, everyone involved wants the kids to be able to play at night. There's no one that thinks otherwise, and so we appreciate the frustration that the leagues are experiencing and the parents are experiencing, and between COVID and the hurricane, there have been a lot of kids that have been deprived of even college careers because of the problems that have been caused. So we want to do the very best we can. I'd like to take one more shot at the conversation, and we'll, just as quickly as we do that, we'll send that information to you.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Mr. County Manager. All right. At this time, we will take up the workshop update. Mr. County Manager, any update on that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. At 1:30 this afternoon, we will engage with you in a workshop to discuss the countywide wastewater management plan.
Okay. I saw the clerk had a comment. I apologize. Did you? No? Okay.
Yeah, I think you had cards, more names for public comment.
I don't have any more names for public comment. Marsha Ellis, you would like to speak?
Yes.
Okay. On the workshop?
No, not on the workshop, just on the.
In general?
comments of my fellow public participants and
Okay.
in general.
I guess I didn't ask.
Non-agenda
Does
specific.
anybody wish to speak? Yeah. All right. Well,
Is
it's
this
so
my
close.
out of turn? Because I would be.
No, go ahead. It's fine.
Okay. So I just heard some comments that were brought forth. I had a couple of ideas just while I was here paying attention, and that was to try to leverage the resources that you have. Maybe you can't open every park, but maybe you could focus in on a few of the parks where you could, at least leverage the resources, and then continuing to work with the partners, the schools, the universities that have facilities to leverage those resources that are within the community that might give you a temporary workaround so that you can serve at least more of the kids. And then I wanted to pick up on the SewageSucks.com issue in regard to nutrient loading. Because we know not every location is the same, and from Brian LaPointe's research with FAU, we know that nutrient loading at the coast is of particular import. And so I think that from a resiliency standpoint, when we position public facilities and our funds going forward, that we also make sure and that we follow that guidance and we don't put public facilities in flood-prone areas that are going to compromise our water resources. Because sewage spills are real, coming out of wastewater facilities. It is appalling if you look at the thousands of spills in the state of Florida that have occurred. We know when when the electric shuts down and those pumps fail, that we're looking at our valuable water resources being compromised. And so positioning those public facilities in areas that are not flood prone is important. Secondly, I would like to speak towards the community rating system and the free board rule. I would like to say that I hope that long-standing residents aren't being disadvantaged in this community through decision making. And when I hear about that homestead values keeping the value artificially low, I worry that maybe those residents had a lower threshold for the 50% rule. Because I know that it's difficult to have the level of public involvement that people need to be informed and engaged members of the community on policy decisions. And so I just want to say that public involvement in key decision-making points is really important. And one of those key decision points regarding me specifically happened today. And I wasn't able to see the north-south versions of the Alico Road connector, which matters. And I've actively and publicly sought as much information in regard to that issue as I possibly can get. And I know that what was brought forth with the visualization, I did see the southern version, but I still, even though the commissioners brought that forth, I still have not seen that northern version of that road. So I'm just going to say that public involvement at key decision-making points is important so that we can all be resilient members and active participants in policy to protect all of our collective interests. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Ellis. All right. Last call for public comment. This is public comment on public presentation of matters by citizens or public comment on the workshop today. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, at this time then, we'll close all public comment. We've had our workshop update. Is there any further business before us?
No, sir.
All right, seeing none, then we are adjourned.